Right. I won't leave meeting. Great, thanks a lot for the intro, and thanks a lot for having me on today, really. I don't do many of these, so this is quite a privilege for most people. So what I'm going to try to talk today is about packaging deals. What is a deal? How do you find your gold mine area? How do you work it out? What do you look for? What tools can you use? And then a little bit about agents, direct to vendor, and investors as well. So some of it I might just sort of skip over. It's not because it's not important. It's just obviously I'm mindful of time and how much detail I can give out. So, but you're more than welcome to ask me any questions at in the breakout room. I'll stay for a breakout room, or contact me. So here we go. So yeah, so talk about compliance. Talk about deal sourcing versus deal packaging. Is there a difference, or what is the difference? Your gold mine area, what is the deal? Agents against direct to vendors, and then finding investors. So nice and simple. So compliance, obviously, why do we need to be compliant as deal sourcers or deal packagers? Well, obviously, it's about doing the right things. Now, obviously, there's a lot of people out there that aren't compliant at the moment. Lots of courses that tell you to just go off and be a deal sourcer. It's the most easiest thing in the world. You can pick up your $3,000 every deal, but actually it's not as easy as that. So in terms of compliance, we had Tina Walsh on about 3 or 4 weeks ago. So there is a video around compliance for about 45-minute talk, so into much more depth. But use the resources that are out there. Get to at least the basic compliance in place. So join the property ombudsman, get your insurance, your indemnity insurance, your public liability, ICO. So you've got to keep the details of your investors, and the anti-money laundering. So really, that's the key compliance. But obviously, there's lots more behind that. So you should have a complaints procedure, cookie policy, website policy, etc., etc. So there's lots and lots of it. So when people say you can obviously just go out and deal source, in reality, it's going to cost you about £1,000 to get yourself set up, I would say. And so you need to be aware of that. It takes time. So if you really want to get going, then I would maybe join up with somebody who is compliant to start with, get your first deal across the line together, and then go from there. You know, so that's so you're not waiting, because the anti-money laundering, for instance, could take 3 months or so to come through. So if you're ready to go, that'd be my advice. But what you're looking for there is trust. It's about building that relationship with your investor, with your agent. If they can see that you're compliant, you've got all your stuff in there, all your ticks, then they're going to more likely work with you than somebody who's not. So, and also if you get into trouble or you need help, you've got these people to come back with. So deal sourcing versus deal packaging. So what I think deal sourcing is in a simple way, is find a property, present the numbers, and do your due diligence. Now, there's obviously lots to go behind that when you present your numbers and do your due diligence, but that's basically what a deal sourcer does. And then for that, he charges a fee to an investor, and away he goes. Now, a deal packager is similar, but it's about finding the property, presenting numbers, due diligence, but also having a power team. So having a solicitor that you can call on, builders you can call on, work out the refurb, do the refurb, manage the project, manage the numbers, and be accountable. So it's a much longer process. There'll be obviously a different cost involved in that. But basically you are doing the whole deal from where you find it to when it's finished. So that could be 6 months or a year in terms of doing it. So there's a massive difference there between what we call a packager or a sourcer. So one's getting your hands dirty and one's not really. So again, you need to be aware of that. So if you've got investors that say to you they want you to manage the project, then you need to make sure that you can manage the project. You've got the proper credentials. You know what you're doing with the health and safety side of things, etc., etc. So it's very important that you're aware of those. So your gold mine area, where should it be? Well, mine is where I live. Most people will be where they live. So you've got to understand why you would go out of your area and how far you're prepared to go out of your area. What time and commitment are you prepared to give? So if you, you know, the typical scenario at the moment is that if you're in the south, you want to find properties in the north because they are cheaper and more abundant. But if you're managing or packaging the deal up and managing the projects, how many times, how long do you think you can spend on the M6? Going up and down every day, managing it. So you've got to think about things like that when you take into consideration. And also then your strategy as well. What strategy works in that area? So you have to do some homework on it. But what do we look for in our Goldberg area? Well, some of these are things I thought about, but and there'll be others as well. But you're talking about who lives there, how many people, what's your house growth, price growth, sorry, rental price and demand, where are the good parts, where are the bad parts of the area, where the commercial, where the industrial areas are, who the big employees are. So they're all about your rental demand and understanding how many people live there, etc. Then you've also got historic and interesting features, or it could be by the coast or in the Cotswolds or something. So, you know what I mean? So it could be different things. And then you've also got to look at your Article 4 and your selective licensing. Where I am in Reading, there's a large Article 4 area. I'll show you that in a minute. But there's no selective licensing. So again, each council will be different how they do things. So it's up to you to get onto the website, find out from the local council website what the do's and don'ts are, where you can go, where you can't go. And then also look on the council website for your up and coming development, sort of adopted emerging plan. So on there, they will have a sort of 20, 25 year plan of the area, what they expect, how they think transport will work, what properties will, or how the property market will look, where all the massive developments will be, are they going to be knocking down large parts and rebuilding it? And it's just their thoughts on the next sort of 20, 25 years. And normally they're massive documents, 300-400 pages long. So don't expect you to read them all, but there will be bits in there just on property, as well as like how they're going to attract business and how the infrastructure will work. And then obviously the differences in postcodes. So, you know, W1 is going to be different from E14, for instance, in London. So, you know, you need to understand what the difference is and why the difference is. So what tools can you use to help on that, to have a look? So again, these are some of the ones I just quickly got up. So Google My Maps, I'll just show you that in a minute. Street Checker, which is just just about the roads, etc., that you want to look at. So it gives you the demographics of how many people are working, unemployment, crime rates, etc. So again, that can be part of your sort of look at how you can do stuff. And then there are some add-ons on Google Chrome I use. Property Checker is one of them. And I use that on Rightmove and Zoopla, which then give me the differences in prices and rentals up and down of any property that comes on there. So it's a quite useful tool. So obviously Rightmove and Zoopla are massive again, just like estate agents. And then Spare Room is another, obviously a good one for when you're looking for rooms, but obviously you've got Gumtree, you've got Open Rent, you've got Facebook ads, etc., etc. So there's quite a lot there. And then if you're mapping out anything, then use Nimbus. Nimbus Maps is quite good in terms of developments, etc. And then if you're looking on SAs, AirDNA is another good one there that tells you the average rental. And then the final one I've got there is research papers, which may be sort of something you thought of before. So that is just going on the web and finding research papers done on property in your area. So your local university will have students who have done thesis on property, transportation, infrastructure, and sometimes they're a good read in terms of what you can actually find out. So so that's just another good little way of doing it. So what I'm going to do now is just quickly go into Google My Maps just to show you something else I do, which I can show to investors or estate agents or whoever. hopefully this will work if I can share this bit. If it doesn't, where are we gone? There we go. So hopefully you can see that. So as you can see, that's a map of Reading. And then on Google Maps,
not sharing yet. I don't know if anyone else has got that. Still showing the old ones. You might have to stop sharing and then reshare and then click onto that window, if that makes sense.
Where do I do that? Stop sharing.
It should be at the top somewhere. It should be a little red button that says stop sharing.
Or share. Or share or stop video. No, it's me, isn't it? More. Let's go into more.
It should literally be at the top where it says
oh yeah, stop share.
Options. Yeah, there you go. And then go to the bottom and reshare, and then you should be able to
pick out which one it is. Yeah.
Yeah, which window you want to share.
Oh, okay.
And then do that again to go back.
There we go. Is that it? Can you see that?
Yep.
Brilliant. So there we go. This is Google My Maps. So here you can, so again, I picked on Reading because obviously that's my goal one area, but you can do this in any area, is that you can now map out where you want things to happen and put information in. So for instance, Article 4. So there's the Article 4 in Reading, around the university, obviously. But what's cool about the Article 4 in Reading is that it actually doesn't go in the town centre. The town centre is up here. And so the Article 4 doesn't hit the town centre and surrounding areas. So, but that's where most of the HMOs are, and then there's a lot of HMOs around this area, around the Oxford Road, because there's a train station there. But Reading's got a few train stations, one out in Tilehurst, and one out in Early and Winnersh as well. So they're quite well off, really, in terms of transport links. And obviously got the M4 here, and then the River Thames as well. So plenty of room. So then we can map in then the different business parks. Again, this is all about you understanding what your area is about, understanding the area, really. So if we just come out of there, so we can just see there. So we've got 4 major business parks. Obviously, there's lots of other businesses around there, but they're the main ones that will show that. And then we can then go even further that, because we can then put in developments. So going off the council websites on their regeneration plan, you can actually then start putting in where they're going to regenerate. So for instance, in Graiseley, right on the south here of Reading, on the other side of the M4, there's going to be a 5,000 to 10,000 new town built there. To the right, just below the M4 sign there, if you can see my hand or not, they're going to build a brand new film studio. And then Burfield, another 2,000. And then right in the centre of Reading again, they're doing lots of developments again. So they're knocking down some of the old shopping centres and building brand new shops and flats on top of it as well. So as you can see, it just starts building up a picture of what's going on in Reading, where it is. And then the final one that I've done on this one is by postcode then. So as you can see, you can then split it on postcode. And then what you can do then is click on the postcode, and then you can actually write things about each postcode. So RG1 postcode address, mainly flats, which come in about 260, and average price is 300,000. So at the beginning of the year, that was down 1% year on year. Now, obviously, with what's been going on and house prices rising and stuff, that needs updating. But until house prices settle, there's no real point in putting it in there, because it's going to be well out. But so that's what you can actually add. You know, you can add in there if you know how many HMOs are in that postcode, or how many people live there, whatever you want to put in there, just for your own benefit, to help you when you're talking to investors, that they can understand the detail that you've gone into. So it's, you know, it can be really useful. So that's how we use Google My Maps. I'm just going to share that again, and then quickly finish off the presentation.
What was that called? Google My Maps?
Yeah.
Do you want to quickly put it in the chat so that people can look it up. Thank you.
Do you want to quickly tell people what it is?
Yeah, it looks amazing.
Google My Maps is just a it's just what it is. So it's another form from Google. So where you've got Google Maps, you can actually go into Google My Maps, and you can then save your work on it. So if you're whatever you're doing, so if you're planning a route, you can print that route off and map it out and then print it off for you. Or you can, if you're doing for work, or if you're just looking for fields, for instance, because you're looking for developments, you can just shade in different parts, and you can go in really, really detailed as much as you want to, and then label it up how you want to do it. So it's just a nice, easy.
Where does the info come from? How does it know where developments are going?
That's me.
Ah.
So like I said, I went onto the government not onto the council website to find out where their latest regeneration plan is and what developments they're planning over the next sort of 3 to 5 years. So
and then you draw it in on your own your own map, as it were.
Yeah.
So like that Article 4 area, you've discovered that and just copied it into that. I think that's really clever, by the way.
Let me just go back into it, sorry, in case some people didn't follow. So basically, I drew those in. So they're not accurate, but they are what they are. So if someone says to me, "Where's the nearest industrial estate to Calcott?" I knew that it's Phil, and I can show them on the map as well, so that people understand, that I know my area. And this is what all about Goldberg Area is, isn't it? It's about you being able to be confidently talking in front of an investor, or an estate agent, or a landlord, and know your stuff.
Mate, you can't see who's here. Everybody here has just at least gone a foot closer to their computer, start hearing at what you're showing everybody. Basically, like it's like a magic trick. It's absolutely amazing.
I was going to say, Nick, can you colour code that as well?
Yeah. Like I don't know if you can. I don't know what you can see. So
your computer black and white, Christy.
I've done like each postcode's different colours and stuff. I'm colourblind, so I'm not the best person to ask about colour. So I do it in colours that I can see. So there might be a bit of But yeah, everything you can do, you can colour code, and then you can add layers to it basically as well.
And how often do you review that? Because because of regeneration plans and things changing, do you kind of just review it?
Yeah, every sort of 6 months, really. I think like I said, I've left it at the moment because of what's been going on and how different it is at the moment in terms of prices and stuff. But the actual, the industrial rates don't change. The regeneration places don't change. The only thing that's changing at the moment is prices, really. And then it's just trying to make as much as you can. So you can then just do it as one postcode if you wanted to, and then really open up the postcode, zoom right in on the postcode if you wanted to. So it goes right into as much as you want, So
thanks for keeping all of this information hidden from us for the last 6 months, mate.
Sorry?
I said thanks for keeping this hidden. I mean, why haven't we had you do a presentation before? This is brilliant.
So that's what I use anyway. So obviously everybody's going to be different in terms of what they present and how they present it to investors. But like I say, to me, it's all about being confident in what you know and showing them that other people that you're confident in what you know. That if someone says to me, "Tell me about Reading, what's going on?" I know that I can reel off a load of different stuff and show them maps, etc., to say this is what's happening. This is why it's a great place to invest. Okay, right then. Let's just go back again.
Somebody's just Simon's asked, how do you draw on it? Is it just literally like when you do like when you're on Rightmove and you can select an area? Is it like that?
Yeah, with the postcode, you can download the postcode maps. You can, and that's much easier because you don't want to be drawing all the postcodes.
We have to get you back on and do like a one-on-one on how to use Google My Maps.
Right.
That's what he was just doing.
So that's about, so basically you set yourself up being compliant. You've then you found your gold mine area, you sort of found your strategy or what you think your strategy is. So then really then you've got to decide what is a deal as a sourcer or packager. And these are the sort of four that most strategies will fit into. You know, I wasn't going to name every single one, but you either buy, renovate and sell, flip, or you buy and hold and then rent it out for whatever, whether it's HMO, SA, social housing, whatever you do. So, and then you've got rent to buy and rent to rent. But then obviously what you've got to look for then is equity in the property from the day you buy it, if you're buying something. So there you're looking for motivated sellers. And obviously motivated sellers you need to go out and find through social media, through bandit boards, through letters, through letterboxes, etc. I've done a post on LinkedIn this week about Reading, and there was 2,100 empty homes in Reading alone. There was, and one of them's been empty for 23 years. Astonishing numbers. There's 270,000 in the UK empty homes at the moment, and we're talking about that we've got a housing crisis in the UK. You know, so you know, what do? Do you go knock on the doors of those empty houses? Do you put letters through the doors? I know somebody that actually has put a for sale sign on the well, a sold sign, sorry, up in the front garden of one, and then within a week the owner actually phoned up the person because they put the phone number on the for sale sign. So it's all thinking out of the box about how you're going to get those motivated sellers. And then obviously it's about adding the value there. So, you know, talking about the refurb, splitting the property into flats, possibly extension out, up or down with PD rights. It's changing a little bit now, so that's a lot easier. Change of use, refinancing, and maybe a planning uplift. So it's looking at those things as well. Then obviously rental demand, right area, right pricing, like we've just gone through in the gold mine area. So it's very important that we do that and making sure that there is a rental demand there. Cash flow. So I suppose the rule of thumb is working at 125%. So if you've got £1,000 outgoings, including your mortgage or rents, plus all your bills, etc., then you need to be making at least £1,250. So you've got a positive cash flow there. And then once you work that out, then you've got your ROI then, which you're using then normally to compare with other properties, to making sure you've got a good yield and other strategies as well. So it's so those are the things that I think you need to be looking and taking in when you're looking for a deal. So then we'll quickly move on to I know time's running out. So agents versus direct to vendors. Agent, a bit of a Marmite question, wasn't it? You either love them or hate them. Pros and cons on agents are they've got lots of deals. You know, there's no getting away from it. You know, you might not like working with an agent, but at the end of the day, they have hundreds of deals. Where when we talk about direct to vendor in a minute, you're looking for one or two deals because they're much harder to come across. So that's one of the biggest pros. Obviously, time, due diligence they should be doing for you as well. And then once you get into an agent, then they can give you off-market deals. They can do the negotiation for you with the landlord. So there's lots of wins there for agents. Cons, fees, negativity from an agent. I know lots of people might suddenly give up because they've gone to 3 or 4 agents and the agent said, no, I don't want to deal with you, don't want to deal with you. But you've also got to remember that there's hundreds of people doing courses at the moment, or have been for the last couple of years. So every agent almost should get the same person coming off the course saying, oh, I've just been on a course, I've got to make a relationship with you, blah, blah, blah. Well, you know, it just takes time. You know, it took me 6 months for our main agent in Reading to get them to give us anything. And now they will give us anything off market and give me a week or 10 days to get rid of, basically. And that's how we got to it. But that took 6 months of us phoning, popping in, saying hi, and now it works. So you've got to be prepared to do the legwork. If you just sit at home thinking, well, the agent's going to phone me, well, they're not, because they've got 10 other people that have said hello to them every week for 10 weeks, and they will go to them first. So again, how to deal with agents? Well, it's been professional. Never not pay a fee. If they ask for a fee, why would you not pay their fees? You know, they could only be £100 up to £400. I wouldn't pay any more than that for a small deal. But obviously, the larger deals, they might have a different pricing structure. So don't, you know, I would never advise you to try and cut out an agent. It just bite you in the bum. And then direct to vendor. So obviously, everyone would like to go direct to vendor because it cuts out agents, cuts out any extra fees. But it's hard work. You know, we're talking that an agent can save you time when a direct to vendor, especially normal landlords, they're very money orientated, especially on rent to rent, etc., etc. So they don't worry about what your offer is. They like your offer, but actually, if someone says to them, "Well, I'll sign up for a year," now they'll take that because that's how their mind works. And that's just being very, very not flippant, but just being generalised of how landlords are. So you need to be aware of that you are up against the clock. So you need to make sure you do a lot of due diligence before you even contact landlords, so that you're ready just to move really quickly. How do we find those direct to vendor? Again, it's through social media, Facebook ads. Most of mine are on Open Rents or Gumtree, so I will write to 20, 30 a day over a week, so 100, 150. And then the response rate is poor for that. So even if you might get 10 that say, yeah, I'm interested, then from there you might only get one that actually says yes. So you've got to be pretty thick-skinned. So, you know, Go for No, if you ever read that, is a good book that property people should read, because you get a lot of no's. And if you can't handle no's, and a lot of people can't because they've come from the nice, friendly corporate world where they get pat on the back if they turn up on time at work or make the boss a cup of tea. It doesn't happen in the property world. So you need to toughen up and just go for it, really. So the other thing that's different, obviously, with direct vendors, is that you've got to do all the paperwork. So you want to make sure you've got all the contracts, make sure you covered yourself with everything. And so again, that takes time, but you need to go to make sure you've got all your eggs in a row, so that you can then, whatever you decided with the landlord, whether you're buying it or renting it, that you can move quickly. So that's agent. Like I said, I'm just drifting over a couple of these points just because, you know, time, etc. So investors. Someone, who did I speak to? I spoke to someone the other day, in actual fact, and they phoned me up and said, "Look, you know, I've got this. I've got a deal." And it was on Clubhouse, wasn't it? Yesterday, wasn't it? Someone put a question, didn't they, about they've got a possible deal, that they've got a motivated seller, which is great news. And they want to know how to progress that and what to do. But what he didn't do was he didn't have an investor. So it's all well and well going and find out these deals, but if you haven't got an investor to take the deal on, then what's the landlord or the owner going to be doing? They're not going to be too happy. So my advice to him was, before you seal any deal, is get an investor who's going to take the deal. Easier said than done again, but obviously, if you've got the investor and you've got the deal and they match up, jobs are good. But if you haven't got an investor but a deal, you know, the worst feeling in the world is having a deal that you've got to throw away or give to somebody else because you haven't got the investors. So there's all sorts of different types of investors. You need to tell everybody what you do. So that starts off with friends and family, because they're the most people that you can help. And once they spread the word as well, it'd be good. So people will follow you. That, you know, we've had stories, I think, on different webinars we've done as a group, where people have been following you for a year, never ever engaged with someone, never even liked a post or on LinkedIn or anything like that. but said been following you, and then a year later, bang, they come in and say, I want to work with you, I've been following you. But it's all about building that trust, rapport, relationship up so people can see what you're doing. So always tell your story, tell everybody what you're doing, even if it's very minor. Just keep doing it. Where to find investors? Obviously, with COVID, it's been a bit hard, but you know the best places obviously are network meetings. You know, if you can go to as many network meetings in your area, do it, sign up. A lot of them on Zoom at the moment. It's not the same, but while they're on Zoom, most of them are free, to be fair. But because of that, then you can go anywhere in the country as well. So you don't have to stick to, you know, in Reading, we've got 3 in Reading, plus one in Basingstoke and Maidenhead, etc. So we've got quite a lot in here. In London, loads. So you don't actually have to stick to your actual network group. You can actually go wherever you like on Zoom, etc. But obviously, what checks you do with an investor? So, you know, just normal proof of ID, proof of allowed to stay in the country, proof of funds, where did the funds come from, and obviously then get them to sign up a head of terms, etc. So there's lots and lots of other things that we talked about, and I'm sure people like Jill can help you with all the paperwork and stuff like that. So really, in summary, because I think I've gone on too long now, it's just really starting from the top, really. So we started off when you first start, you get compliant, then you work out on the Goldberg area where that is and what strategy you're going to use, how you structure your deal, then where do you get your deals from? So that's agents and direct to vendors, and then who do you sell your deals to? Investors. So that's really it, really, from me. Hope that was interesting. We've done there, my details. If anyone wants to have a chat with me offline, then feel free, or like I said, I'll do a breakout room now. And that's me done.
That was absolutely brilliant, Nick. Thank you.
Thanks, Nick. It's just a quick question from Georgie. It says, Nick, the agents you use, are they individuals or bigger corporations?
So they are, well, one of them's a franchise, but it's a national company. It's building a relationship with each estate manager. So I had to move because the kids were like kicking off the bathroom. But yeah, it doesn't matter whether it's a national or independent. It's about building that relationship with either the manager or the sales guys in there. So it doesn't really matter. You just got to get in there and do the hard work and keep going in there and saying hello. You know,
it's relationship building, isn't it? At the end of the day.
Yeah, you know, we keep saying it's simple. I know it's very hard. I know people get very frustrated when an agent puts the phone down on you. But I think it's just keep going. And once they keep seeing you, and you can take in your little map, you can take in some A4 sheet of paper of what you're doing and what you're trying to achieve. And then once you've got that relationship, then you can delve into the deeper of actually what you want. You know, I'm looking for a 3-bedroom that I can extend at the back, or it must have 2 bathrooms, or can I build on top of the garage, etc., etc. And then you can get into nitty gritty. And then once you've got that, then the agents then will cut down the amount of deals they send you, rather than you being on their marketing mail. The actual guy will then send you something out that actually fits that. So yeah.
Nick, it's Georgie.
Hey, Georgie, you all right?
Yeah, you're right, darling.
Yeah.
Nice to see you at last. I've got my camera off because we're doing stuff, eating dinner and stuff. Just quickly, do you actually physically go into the agents, or do you phone them, or how best do you think is to start that relationship?
Mixture of both, really. The first time is just to go in and say hello is the hardest, because that's going to be the hardest bit for anybody, because it's like a cold call, isn't it? You're walking in there. But if you've got your strategy, what you want to do, and if you can then break that strategy and say, look, I'm looking for a 3-bedroom detached house with a bit of land, for instance, or whatever it is, then it's much easier for them to. And then once you start talking to them, then you can actually say, well, this is what I'm actually trying to do.
Okay.
It's much easier to face than on the phone, etc. You know, once you've had that first initial contact, then you can phone them up and say next week and say, "Hi, it's Georgie. Week, just keeping in contact. How's the market?" That's what you've got to do. You don't even have to say, "Have you got any properties?" You just say, "How's the market?" and away you go.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Thank you very much, Nick. I'll be in touch.
Yeah, no worries, Geordie.
All right.